Welcome to the August 5th Jail and Zones production user call. We have Oliver, Jan, Philip, Alexander, Gibran, and myself, Michael, so far. So in your experiments with Kassaber, did I pronounce that correctly from last time? Jan, you found some surprises on PowerPC. What'd you find?
Where normal architectures encode a function pointer as just the first byte of the function's code, on PowerPC, a function pointer is a function pointer and the table of contents pointer together. So function pointer is twice the size of a normal pointer, which is a bit confusing and can make code break on just PowerPC. It's all due to IBM deciding to basically do double relocation instead of traditional Unix single relocation when defining the application binary interface. But an unforeseen consequence of that is that you can't do a tail call to a function with external linkage because the compiler doesn't know how to generate the trampoline code to do the tail call. Um, yeah, because of that, I had to rewrite a single function in Casiber to be a traditional do while loop instead of a tail recursive function. It's a fairly simple rewrite, and now it should work. I'm still waiting for the contributor who was kind enough to send me a pull request, which solved this issue in a less elegant way by just putting an if def around the must tail attribute. Yeah,
Could
but
you check
now,
my docs on this? Because I easily got that wrong, especially
yeah,
right here. Go ahead.
I will review that
Thank
later.
you. Appreciated.
Um,
Oh, yes, and you put a link to your project. Excellent.
and yeah, now it should even work on PowerPC. It already works on normal-ish architectures.
Cool. Normal-ish, yes.
Yep. Other than that, the man page will be improved for the next release, and yeah, I'm a bit more paranoid when it comes to giving the arguments to the runtime linker. Other than that, it's fine.
Okay. Oh boy. Oh, where's it gonna put me?
Oh, don't tell me it's down again.
Hopefully that's left over. Let me refresh that. I've got no comments on my tabs, please. No comments. Deal with that later.
No, you're not allowed to say that.
Uh, okay.
You have to. There must be comments on tabs. You see, what
Is
you need
that
to do
tab
is do tab
shaming?
groups.
Tab
Tab
shaming?
shaming.
Okay, good.
Tab
Okay.
shaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you, Jan. And I look forward to your RB 5009 review. You just, for those who missed it, he flashed a nifty piece of hardware on the screen. Um, Yay. Thank you. Gibran, tell us about pushing a single image to multiple systems.
So yeah, it's quite simple, right? You want to have the same jail going to a bunch of a bunch of different machines at the same time, and I'm just trying to automate that process. Um, but what's tricky is that in the environment I'm in at work, I have to do this from a Windows machine. So I'm sitting on a Windows machine, SSH, and I need to run this jail. So I'm having to learn all sorts of new tools like PowerShell and a bunch of other things to figure this
Dude,
out.
you think you're unlucky having to do it from Windows? Dude, we have to do it from Chromebook.
Ooh. Ouch. Yep. Okay. Okay. Is there a web terminal shell SSH client that does all the things? You just kind of ignore the fact that it's a Chromebook?
Of course, but the key bindings conflict.
Oh, ew.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can't do that. Yeah, you press the super key and it does something else. So
Oof.
it doesn't work. Yeah. So yeah, I've just been struggling with that. But so far, I've set up a Windows server at home, and I've got a couple of old I've got a Nook and a Raspberry Pi that I've set up so that I can um, try and get this working at home, so that we can get it running at work. Because I've been pushing for work to move over from Red Hat Enterprise to FreeBSD, which
Nice.
is,
Let's
yeah.
wait for 2 seconds. Someone's at the door. Continue, and tell us about your application.
Yeah,
So,
so the applications run, it's Apache Kafka, um, uh, that runs on, we've got 8 servers spread across 2 data centers, so 4 servers in each data center. And yeah, we run Apache Kafka for moving messages across, for multiple use cases. Um, I suppose no one in this call cares enough. Disclosure would be not a problem. So I work for a telecoms company, and all the messages on your mobile device, every time you sort of move from one cell tower to the next, all of these events get recorded and pushed down as a Kafka message down this pipeline. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of and and on we've seen CPU usage and RAM usage go down about 40% from Red Hat Enterprise to FreeBSD 14.3. So that's been quite impressive. Unfortunately, it does sit in a closed environment, so I can't share stats and numbers.
yeah, well, that sounds a lot like a JVM tuning question, just different defaults, virtual memory behavior. But glad to hear it's working out for you.
Yeah, it's working out really well. I think Kafka also just seems to run a lot faster. Um, with Red Hat Enterprise, we were also running on Red Hat Enterprise. The last supported release was 7, and yeah, so they were just saving money, not paying licenses to keep upgrading. But yeah, I managed to convince them to run FreeBSD. So we ran it in a trial in our dev environment, and the sysadmins were happy. And so, yeah, we got that. I think that's a win because part of the deal was they would donate to the foundation.
Oh, and hopefully other efforts that you might be participating in. Did you have a moment while I was away to talk about the application itself, or is that a state secret?
I did talk about the application. It's an Apache Kafka
Ah, okay.
system that runs, and yeah, we RAM and CPU usage down about 40% versus Red Hat Enterprise. And the sysadmins are much happier.
Interesting. Can you attribute that to anything specific, or that was the whole JVM thing, Jan, you're mentioning too?
I suspect that it's JVM and virtual memory subsystem defaults, which
Hmm.
are different and not something fundamental.
Not something totally
But
fundamental, but uh, I can report that the sysadmins say that it's easier to manage.
yeah, it is.
That said, speaking of Apache, did you see the news that BSD.cafe is moving to Seaweed FS from Apache for their S3 compatibility, given that MinIO is playing games, for lack of a better term? Uh, I don't know if anyone's doing something crazy like magical S3 back jails, but for what it's worth, that's a hot topic that Stefano's involved with, and I'm sure a blog post will come out of it. Just saying. Jan, congrats on the approval, but which of the two projects we discussed is that? Is that executable
It's
jail.conf
the executable
or
jail.conf,
called it?
and it's not just waiting for someone to commit it. I can't do it myself.
Oh, Dave, where are you? Are you around? Hello? Can you hear me from Zoom?
And
And
Alexander, you would be very welcome to take a look at the man page changes I did,
wait,
because I'm pretty sure you have an idea or two how to improve the style.
I did, and actually I like the style, but you uploaded it without the full context, so you know, it's difficult for me to see while I'm working exactly what's going on with it.
So just
Because like
you
I'm over here like in the data center with a Chromebook and like not allowed to install a FreeBSD VM. So like I can see that stuff on the browser and like have enough experience that I feel confident, but without the full context, then I can't see like some other things.
oh, so that's a snippet from the jail manual page, not your own, I'm
yes,
guessing. Okay.
that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
something I
that's
added to the manual page so
Hmm.
that this new flag is documented.
so if you could just I mean, I could look at it at the end of the workday, but I mean, if you re-upload it with diff minus u 9999, that's
If
usually
I
what we do.
if I do that,
Then
it breaks with review accepted flag.
Mail
yeah,
it to him. I don't know.
I saw you just added the X flag, and it looked good. Like the style looked good. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm not that brilliant at this kind of thing. I'm just like, yeah, like it looks good, like, or I'm like, ah, we should do it like this, you know.
Well, your assistance and input is valued. Do what you can, but if that tiny snippet is reasonable, that's a start.
Yeah, it
Must be
looked
valid to
reasonable.
standard input.
from from me looking at it, it was like, okay, like this seems like it's hitting. Like I have no further questions. You know what I mean? And like it's not written in a way. You know, Jan is a good speaker. It's good.
Jan, for our listeners, what was your number one example of using an executable jail.conf? What would be in that conf and what would it execute?
So
Who would it
what
execute?
would happen is you would normally not have an executable etc jail.conf, but you would include something executable. If you don't give the jail command the -x flag, it will now refuse such a configuration. If you give it the -x flag, lowercase, it will execute whatever executable you have and pass the standard output as a jail.conf snippet to be included instead of the actual file content. A possible use case would be storing a jail configuration in an SQLite database so that you can easily change it programmatically,
Interesting.
um, or to convert it from UCL. Just have a UCL to jail.conf converter. More elaborate examples would be having certain parts of the configuration be dynamic so that, for example, every jail gets its own device file system rule set number or a static jail ID, and it's allocated the first time you load the configuration. Because you can do a lot of stuff dynamically in the jail configuration. But for example, you can't set or change IP4 or IP6, the setting from VNet to non-VNet in an exec.created hook. So by the time the jail is created, these things are set in stone. But with an executable jail.conf snippet, you could have a helper allocate an IP address for this jail name the first time the jail runs, or more precisely, the first time the jail configuration is passed. Why would you want to have this in the jail command instead of having some wrapper around it? Well, if you require the wrapper, then you can no longer use the jail command to manage jails directly. You always have to go through the wrapper.
Ah, interesting.
So if you have something like a Podman or something like that, yes, it can do a bunch of helpful stuff, but now your jails always have to be managed through Podman, and anything not exposed to that interface is unreachable to you now, or very tricky and fragile to access at best. The hope is that, yeah, with this, you cannot make sure that stuff is always up to date as you load it. So, for example, if you have some kind of, I don't know, yeah, IP addresses assigned from some kind of IPAM solution. I don't know, you're running, what's it called? Netbox, I think, and your jail is allocated from a network there on, you can just do an API call every time you load the jail. And you, of course, you're also free to cache this kind of stuff. A slightly more hacky use for it would be to just run make every time you load the jail configuration to emit something you intend to include later. Yeah. You shouldn't run very slow stuff there, so stuff which is slow on a human time scale probably shouldn't be dynamically queried if you care about your responsiveness of the management commands. And you shouldn't just, I don't know, set the jail ID to a random value every time you load it. Then you get the breakage you deserve. Sorry.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
if you
magic.
need to configure a massively unique and complex jail and it takes a while, maybe that's exactly what you want.
Oh, yes, having long running exec hooks is fine, but you don't want to do really
Okay.
expensive stuff during the parsing stage.
I see.
So if you
Um,
want to do something like replicate the base packages, you should instead have a jail which does that in its exec dot whatever created hook or exec dot start.
yeah.
So yeah, restart, yeah, probably. Anyway, no, created is the right one for that.
So your
So
jail.conf could be a C program that outputs valid jail syntax and off you
or
go.
any other
Yep, or
language,
any other language. Okay.
it's
Now,
just
is
an
there any
executable. So
validation
it
that
can
takes
be
place either in jail command
yes,
or you have to do that in advance
the jail
or
command
jail load?
parses it, and if it fails to parse, that is treated as a syntax error like it would be in a normal file.
Okay.
And the command must exit with an exit status of 0 because a non-zero exit status is treated as equivalent to a syntax error. So it's a fatal error if the command crashes.
I
Because you
heard
don't want,
zero. A
yeah, if the
non-zero?
exit code is 0, it's passed. If it's non-zero,
Oh, yeah, okay.
it's treated as a fatal parsing error
Great,
because you
fine.
don't want to start a jail which is only partially
Yeah,
configured.
cool.
Yeah.
Is it
Okay.
only the top level jail.conf that can be executable, or if you include
No, any
other?
include. You can even nest them if you want.
Uh, I was going to ask about include. So can the
Yeah,
include
it's,
Oh
itself
shit!
be dynamic?
sorry?
Can the include
Oh
itself be
fuck!
dynamic? And it sounds like Alexander, you're having a crisis.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
bummer.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Oh, good. Godspeed.
So yeah, you can emit something which will in turn generate the next include and so on. And that include can again be an executable, so it can be recursive.
Hmm.
I don't think that's often a good idea, but for example, I've written a trivial little shell script so that every .conf file in etc jail.d is treated as a jail, but without the jail block around so that you can easily reuse parts. Let me show you an example how that could look. So this is my jail.conf.
Are you sharing? One sec.
No, I'm putting it in the
Oh,
chat
oh,
because it's
fine.
only 4
And
lines.
then, so then it's -x and the path to a thing, and that just
It's that, and
gets
then
in, slurped in as jail.conf syntax and is hopefully valid. Cool. I'll just say,
so this little helper script uh, finds every directory in etc jail.d and then looks for any .conf files in that and includes those. Again, using the globbing function already built in. And the nice thing about this is that you can't abstract in normal jail.conf over the jail name if you build up a jail with includes. So you would have to normally write out this block, my jail, and you couldn't abstract over the jail name. Once you're in the jail block, you can use the jail.conf variable expansion to get the name under $name and is specified the jail ID under $JIT, but or $ID. But sorry, $JID, yeah. But what you can't do is you can't expand a variable in the jail name itself. So that has to be a literal in the parser. But now, because you can run arbitrary code to generate the text you're about to parse, you can abstract over that and just derive the jail name from the directory name. So that you can build up a jail configuration by just symlinking the snippets you want into the directory. I have an even fancier version which lets you control the include order with with the RC order command. So that's similar to rc.d scripts. You can decide in which order they get included, and they don't just get included in whatever collocation order your current environment has. So basically lexical order according to your locale. Yeah.
Should the manual page have an example?
Probably not, because it would be a bit much
Okay.
and very much user specific. This is
So
basically
the
policy, not mechanism. Yeah.
fair enough. It could have
Could
a
be
shell script
documented
with a here
somewhere,
doc that's
maybe
your
a
jail.conf
wiki
and it just
article with examples would definitely be in order.
okay, go.
But suggesting policies in the jail configuration, it's already so long. And it's kind of at a different abstraction layer as the rest of the main page. So,
Okay. So the simplest smoke test would be like a shell script with a here doc that's your jail.conf and it just barfs it back out and have a nice day.
yeah, that would be a
Just echoes
stupid
it
but
out
simple
like
use for
yeah,
it.
just to verify that things are
Yeah,
working. Cool. Well, I see.
cut
I get it. I get it.
dash.
Conceptually, I get it.
Yeah, just a cut with a hero. Sure, it would be cat abuse, and you're not supposed to do perform animal abuse, but hey.
Haha. Cool. Any questions for Jan? Y'all muted. Well, thank you, Jan. I know that's been in the works for quite some time, and Jamie required or convincing. So congratulations. Jamie is a committer, is he not? So I don't know if you've run it by him, but oh, Jamie, ODCH, hello.
Yeah, Jamie will get it, I think. Probably just leaving
Yeah,
it for a while to see if anyone else has anything to say.
Cool.
Dude, I just had an electrical incident.
Oh, did you? Blue
Yeah, like
smoke,
I don't
arcing, anything?
arcing. I don't think
Ooh.
like I can't get this fucking thing out of here now.
Jeez. Okay. Do what you got to do.
yeah.
Other topics, questions, ideas, requests.
Oh,
I just wanted to say,
Ron, yes.
sorry, Ant, do you want to go?
nope.
You've got the floor,
No, I
Jim.
just wanted to add something I forgot to mention about our change from Red Hat
Yes, please. Oh, that's a hot
to
topic. Go
FreeBSD.
ahead.
It was the big thing there was actually Docker. So we were running on Red Hat with a bunch of Java microservices running in Docker images.
Mm-hmm.
And on FreeBSD, everything runs in a jail.
Okay.
So instead of um, what's it? I think there's 25 or 26 Docker images running. There's now 25 jails. And I think that makes a big difference to the performance because Docker,
Ah.
I think, has quite a big overhead.
Do you have documentation and or a blog post and or something in mind for that?
I did say you were off the call because this is corporate world. Uh, I can't really
Sanitized,
share.
of course, sanitized. I mean, this, you know,
Yeah, I'll see how much I can put together and write up about it
cool.
without revealing too much information. But yeah, so I think that that was the big kicker there, that from Docker to
Sure.
jails.
No, that's awesome. Thinking Docker overhead is to blame. And then I'd be curious if the recent OSI work would allow for a simpler, more seamless transition from Dockerish things to jails without either users noticing, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not qualified to comment on that, but I'd be curious. Uh, because I mean, CentOS tattoo removal is a big booming business, and of course, you know, Red Hat RHEL is RHEL, and someone paid something for something. So any and all information you can share is appreciated.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
I
Jan.
don't know how Red Hat did their Docker exactly, but one of the nice things you can get with FreeBSD is you can, if you have this kind of very tightly controlled deployment, use something like nullfs to share the base system so that you do a thin provisioning, which potentially
Yeah.
reduces your memory footprint a lot because with nullfs for sharing the user land, it's all the same vnodes and inodes under the hood. So it's just one copy of the libraries and so on in memory.
Yeah. That's exactly that was what
And
was done.
that can help. I don't know if maybe Red Hat used the user space overlay FS or some other handbrake in their configuration. With Podman on FreeBSD right now, you're restricted to always use VNet jails, which, while quite flexible in what you can do inside the jail, comes with an unavoidable performance overhead because you have to route the packages into the guest unless you have devices you can pass through, like uh, PCIe virtual functions. So if you have a NIC which does virtual functions well, then VNet is basically free for you because you can just create a virtual function on your NIC and configure it enough so that you can pass it into the jail. If you don't have that kind of NIC, then you really should give alias jails a try because those have a lot less overhead.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind for
Um,
future.
yep.
Are you not using alias jails for now? What are you using for networking, if you can reveal it?
Well, I know they do using thin provisioning. I'm not sure if they're using alias jails. Um, it's a very big corporate, so once I suggested, then it got moved to the architecture team, who then, you know, goes along from there. I sit on the QA space related to specifically the Kafka part of the team. So yeah, I get to see the end results
It
on Kafka.
sounds like you've made quite the victory in convincing them and migrating them and only having simple questions.
Yeah, I did. I'm proud of myself for that one. But my colleagues on the sysadmin side are very happy with me as well. So
Snaps to Gibran. Okay.
um, also I have unrelated news if I
Yes,
can
please.
share. Unrelated. So I've had 3 interviews and I have a final job interview for a company called Capgemini up in the Netherlands.
Hmm,
So I'm hoping to relocate by the end of the year, which would
that's
be nice
exciting.
because then I can attend EuroBSDCon.
That would be nice.
Yeah. So yeah, if anyone wants to hold thumbs and toes and fingers and
Yes, hold
whatever
knock on
else.
wood, you name it. Yes, Godspeed. That would be lovely. We've we've had related discussions over the years, and that's also great news. Hopefully your luck just continues here.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Philip, you've shared some disaster recovery notes, and in the pregame, you mentioned that you're tinkering with, be it VM images, be it installer images, be it all the things to facilitate your disaster recovery. I guess in case of emergency, break glass and pull out a bootable drive and stuff happens. Is that accurate?
Yeah, what I'm hoping to do is find a good way to automate disaster recovery under certain scenarios where, one location. So I have a lot fewer servers. So usually there's, say, one or two production servers. So if one of them is no longer available and I can trust the backup is available with the automatic ZFS snapshots and stuff, but
Yep.
from the root drive, what is the fastest way to get a new server provisioned using only the backup data, the backup root drive? Right now, my process has been to reinstall, from install media, and then pull in the jails and things like that. Manually reinstall the host system and then pull in the jails. But I'm hoping to find a more elegant way to do that from scratch, as you mentioned the Occam BSD and the imagine.sh, to look at possible ways that I can say add some basic scripting tools onto that to automatically pull in the known location of the last snapshot of the root and all of its components below that. So still tinkering with it on finding out what the best way is, because right now the current process is more manual rather than more automated, and it's
So
yeah.
you have lots of different options. When it comes to application and backups, you have to decide if you want to recover from backups or replicate. So you can use Geom Gate, for example, to do a kind of poor man's iSCSI, but on top of that, you get something similar to, so you can think of it as the FreeBSD equivalent of Linux network block devices. And then you can have replication over that, so that you have a local disk and a remote disk over the network, and every write is mirrored to both. So you kind of as a network RAID 1. And that way you have a synchronous replication of every write. Of course, that comes with performance overhead, mostly write latency, because every write must at least be confirmed by the remote system as I have that in my DRAM buffer. So unless we both lose power, it should go to the disk. Yeah, exactly. It's similar to DRBC. And you can put ZFS on top of that, or you could use iSCSI to build something similar, with maybe a bit more queuing performance, which would help if you have enough writes to keep the queue utilized. The other option is to go layer up and do it on the ZFS file system level, so that you have very frequent replications with something like zREPL, so that you have the every minute or five a replication attempt.
And I did hear
Then,
the OS, which doesn't change very often. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The data is one thing. It's that OS might
yeah,
you
of course you
you
can
probably
say,
should change more than you actually do because you're probably not updating as often as you should. So yeah.
yeah, and you could have some kind of rc.d script which does a snapshot basically once all services are started or something on the
So
base system.
so Philip, there's no way for the replica to be a active node that could just be
Mhm.
switched over to?
Well, right now
Definitely a
the
backup.
this
I'm asking Philip his answer.
yeah, the scenario for this is offsite backup. So
Okay.
if the primary site is down, right now the replications are ZFS snapshots that can happen as often as every minute. And then so just pushing the small difference every minute over to the offsite backup. Uh, Things that are local is not really the issue, because if you have all the things local, you can just move jails
Right.
So the idea is that the primary site is offline and completely inaccessible, such as, a network outage, power outage, that kind of a thing.
Mhm.
And the only data that is available is the offsite replica. And so that becomes right now the offsite replica is a snapshot that is non-live.
That's
So it's not
fine.
mounted.
That's
Here,
correct.
my questions. How much network latency is there between your sites?
A lot.
Okay.
Okay, a lot.
And you can get away with a minute replication. That snapshotting replication, that sounds optimistic.
Well,
So
there's
if
not a
it,
huge amount of data. It's just
Okay.
that the round trip is sometimes a lot.
okay, if you describe it as a lot, any kind of synchronous replication is out because that would just make your write transaction time terrible.
Yeah.
And we've
Okay,
all
you're
wanted a
laughing, so
mythical
we can
ZFS
ignore
live
any kind
replication,
of
but that's
synchronous write replication over the network, because you only want to do that with basically if your network has about the same latency as your disks. If it has any more, it's going to be painful. Um, so
Well,
you're left with asynchronous best effort replication that you can do at the file system level, as you're already doing.
yeah, and I think the other piece that I want to test out and kind of have an easy to work out model is uh, as I retire one server and I want to bring it to a new server, can I just put install media and pull over the entire server, with minimal downtime? So they're both in the same rack, for example, and then it can just do an
Um,
install and shut down the old server and start up the new server. So the new
so,
host idea. And right now I've done that manually at the jail level. So I've manually installed the host server, and then I pull
mhm.
the jails over one at a time. And so that has been
so
it's manual process that right now, and I want to automate.
I think the problem is that you're conflating backups and replication. Um, Backups are fine and you can recover from backups, but that's going to imply a significant human time frame downtime. What you could also do if you have the hardware to do it, you could do a replication to your standby system. Maybe even every time you receive something, you do a tar to dev null to preload the cache and so on, so that the replica is always already preloaded. So instead of manually rebuilding that, you're doing your backups to your backup server for backup purpose, and for replications, you replicate to your designated fallover system and send it the replications. It may even, as I said, do something like a tar of the jail to dev null to preload it into the arc and pretend so that you have a pre-warmed cache in the file system. And then you just have to flip the network over and start the services.
And that sounds like sort of what I've done every few years as I migrate from the previous server to the next server. Uh, Replicate it over to the new server and then shut it down at the old one and then do a final replication and then start it up. So, I mean, that has been one model. I'm just looking at the other part of disaster recovery where the local site is not available anymore and I have to get it from the remote backup and I want to automate that as much as possible.
Oh, so you're not having standby systems you can pre-applicate to, but you would have to get replacement hardware.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea for the
Okay.
disaster recovery that if there's not uh, hardware that's
That,
been provisioned yet, that it would be new hardware that's either repurposed from other hardware or just acquired
okay.
immediately.
So we are talking about 2 orders of magnitude or more difference in
Yeah,
time to
they're different
recovery.
purposes, and I'm trying
Yeah.
to think of all the different ways to recover from upgrades as well as disasters.
In that case, I think something like a Git repository with an Ansible configuration to run with
Mm-hmm.
Ansible pull would be a good fit. So you have a FreeBSD system with basically only Ansible installed, and you could write a trivial little shell script. FreeBSD has a bunch of fairly unknown rc.d services to do things on first install and so on. So if you have this, if you have this marker file like this is the first boot, which I think the VM image has. So if you mount the VM image without booting it and put the right files in, you can do things on first boot, like put in an rc.d script to install packages on first boot. And that would take care of installing the current Ansible version or whatever. And then do a specific one in, but then you have to make sure that your recovery image is not so old that Ansible version is no longer in the repository. So on first boot, your customized image will then, I don't know, install a few packages, do a git pull, or just use Ansible pull with the URL. You have to make sure that you have the right certificate to validate that. So that either it has to be one you can authenticate against the root CA list, or you have to put in, if you're using SSH, the known host for your Git server, which still has to be available in this configuration state. Or you can even put the Git repository already in the image. Then you can run Ansible to do what has to be done.
Jan,
And that
question when you
Ansible
have a
is slow
chance.
is not a big issue if you're talking about acquiring hardware, even if it is virtual machines.
So Jan,
Ordering somewhere.
given that his machine that's probably been up for some time is like a previous version, perhaps significant version of FreeBSD, what expectations can one have on backwards ABI compatibility such that if it's an old 13 machine, 13 jails, and 15.2 is here, it's like, oh, how about the host is instantly 15.2, the jails come along as is and get upgraded when the time comes?
What's the
Is there like
problem?
well, how far back, what expectations can you have on that ABI compatibility? Back to like 5.0 or what? Or 64-bit, but
I
what's the
think
official expectation?
I think at least currently back to FreeBSD 6.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then there's a gap. And then if you have, because something with shared libraries changed, you can still enable it, but I think it's no longer enabled by default. I think when the releases with a.out, but shared libraries are by default no longer supported by the kernel. And if you go even further back to completely statically linked systems, it's supported again because it's just a statically linked binary. But yeah, running a few releases older userlands as a jail is definitely supported.
Yeah. So, Philip, I can't emphasize enough that in my experience, in my silly systems, well, the moment you, oh no, have to rebuild, you absolutely want a new version of the OS because, yeah, even if it was a lovely, trusty machine, the one you're on might very well be near end of life and
The
think to yourself, and that's
bigger
where jails
issue,
and VMs can be your friend insofar as it's like, don't care. Okay, I'm here, and then upgrade them when you have a chance or recreate them when you have a chance. But you want to get out of the woods on the disaster. So
another
there.
reason you may have to do that for the host system, in the case that you're acquiring new hardware, if I don't know, your old site burns down, is that the new hardware may require the new drivers, which are only in the new operating system.
Oh, there you go. Good point.
So if you suddenly get a new network card or disk controller or whatever, or just a CPU which requires scheduler runners throttling, turbo boost behavior, whatever, to get good performance. Yeah.
Oh, fortunately, at this point, all of the systems get updated, including the jails, within a few months of the release of each major release version. So, everything's like going from 14.2 to 14.3 and then
Sure.
15 and so forth. So we're not looking at, version 13 point whatever
Jumping
on
that big. Well,
anything.
good you're doing that, but at the same time, you don't get the luxury of scheduling your disasters. Well, I'll do it right before the move to .2. Like, yeah, that's nice. Cool.
If
Go ahead.
you're scheduling your disasters, they're called sabotage.
Exactly.
Well,
There
actually,
you
from
go.
a few calls ago, Dave had some examples on Ansible, and that's another piece that I'm looking at as well, on how to best use Ansible, because I haven't made a lot of use out of that yet, other than to tinker with it and try it out to standardize installs.
Cool.
If you're scheduling your disasters, it's called sabotage. That's awesome.
Oh, LD. AD. Yeah, I'm always in search of a good t-shirt idea. And sometime in this millennium, I'll actually produce a t-shirt. Heck, there are conferences coming up. Maybe they need some. There is a long list of good and terrible t-shirt ideas on one of these docs. Anyway, cool. Good luck with that. Keep us posted. And the fact that you're planning ahead is great because you'd be surprised how many people don't plan for that. And just I'll throw this in there while we're at it. Jan has a good point of, oh no, your new hardware needs the new drivers, blah, blah, blah. Well, during lockdown, it was like, oh, I'm moving my R7 whatever to an Raspberry Pi, but the Raspberry Pi costs the same as a Dell R7 something. And that whole chaos of, well, we'll take whatever hardware we can get. And that's suddenly the best hardware available because, so yeah, you may have to downgrade hardware, but of course you want to upgrade your OS. So just think about what that matrix of disaster can look like.
Sabotage is an extremely important part of testing.
Yes, I
If you're
agree.
doing it just in testing, it would be nice and call it a chaos monkey or something less ominous.
Well, at least you can blast a, was it Beastie Boys song?
I
Listen,
think
all
like for
y'all.
large stuff, you really should sabotage in prod. I mean, seriously, like,
Really? You have that luxury.
yeah,
Yay.
yeah, totally. If it's big enough, like 100%, like someone needs to go over and literally just shut it off or just rip
Yeah.
out a power supply, see what happens. It needs to be able to fail over gracefully, and if you're not sabotaging it, in like whatever is the most inconvenient way is the way that it needs to be sabotaged in order to test it. Of course, you can't do that when you have one server, but when you have a data center, you have to do that.
Can we
No, we
borrow
do
your
that all
data
the time,
center?
actually. Yeah, I mean that's we're doing that now actually in
Oh, well, good.
an hour's time. We are just gonna yank the cord on one data
That's
center
cool. Okay, cool.
to see what happens. We do this about every 6 weeks.
That's how it's done. This is the way.
Come together.
It's terrifying. We have about 20 people on a Teams call, make sure that everything goes smoothly.
How do I turn that off? Okay. I hope you didn't hear that noise of an advertisement on the link that Jan just shared. Oh, still going.
Hold on. Just had it. Unless everything changes, this restaurant needs to officially cease operations.
Because keeping it open would be like
Beating a dead horse where you throw up.
Hate YouTube. There's a comment. Skippy's list.
Just
Okay,
old
okay,
internet
translate that.
law that you're not allowed to play high-speed dirt during airborne operations.
Okay.
About sabotage and testing.
And Jan, you actually inadvertently gave us another t-shirt idea. Happiness is a warm cache. The Beatles.
That's your way of putting that.
Referring, of course, to the song Happiness is a Warm Gun. There you have it. Okay, other topics, ideas, questions, requests, EuroBeehiveCon requests. Uh, Gibran, is there a chance you could be there this year, or is that just a future aspirational idea?
So I have final interview on Friday, and I will know then.
Good luck.
I
Keep
will.
us posted on that note. That is fantastic. I wish you the very best. And as someone hinted in chat, wow, you switched them to FreeBSD and you're disappearing. Hopefully, you've trained them all very, very well. um, or you'll be an amazing consultant to them eternally. Don't know.
You know what? I think uh with the three sysadmins that I trained up, I also like to think of them as my friends.
Excellent.
They are terrific. They've done an amazing job of learning and reading documentation. Um, and I think they'll be absolutely fine.
Oh, can you summarize here or later the documentation you sent them to? Is it something you prepared, or was it like, here's handbook chapter one, which could take a lifetime to follow and still not get them where they want to be necessarily?
Actually, we used Gen AI. So
Eek.
we put
Okay.
the handbook into an Gen AI platform, and they could ask the platform questions, and it would spit it out from the handbook. Um, we also for Madden, we used his blog. Uh, we used a couple of other blog posts, um, and yeah, most of the things that they do is not so much FreeBSD related. It's mostly Kafka related. The FreeBSD stuff that they need to do is the simple stuff.
Okay,
It's,
that's good to know. Yep. Cool.
there's nothing really, uh, I wouldn't say difficult or challenging. I think if you come from Red Hat, moving to FreeBSD, the commands are simpler. It's more of what you used to learn, and they've been using Linux for a long time, so
Muscle memory.
it was almost going back to their roots.
Oh, okay, cool. That's it. Keep us posted, please. That's all very exciting.
Yeah, I will put up a blog post. I just need to get my host up and running.
Cool. On that note, would you like the honors? Hopefully, knowing what I'm referring to.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Like and subscribe.
Thank you. Called it. Yay. Well done. Well played. Take care, everyone. Talk to you perhaps tomorrow on the OpenZFS call. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.